Um, and then fast forward another year, uh, Brandon bought a new house, was like, "Hey, I'm selling my house." And so I ended up buying his house, the one that since 2021, I had been visualizing myself having coffee on every single morning, 4 years. And I didn't know Brandon, didn't know like there.
Yeah.
And I literally bought that house and I had coffee on the lanai overlooking the ocean this morning. This thing that I visualized for 5 years came to fruition.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Micah Johnson, and today I'm joined by Cam, who's been making some serious moves in real estate investing since 2019. Cam, welcome in, man. Glad to have you.
Dude, I'm pumped to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited for our listeners today, what they're going to take away really from your journey through real estate, about how you actually pull off the life you're trying to while building a business that works for you. So let's dive in on that. For people who may not know you yet, what's your main focus right now and what markets do you operate in?
Yeah, we operate in St. Louis, so that's the only place that we invest in. And our company is kind of made up of three different companies, I would say. The parent company is called Revel City. And we have Revel City Home Buyers, we have Revel City Properties, and then we have a property management company called Thrive. And really, our property management company just manages our rentals. We don't
Gotcha.
have other people that are in that. Um, but within our home buying company, it's a flipping company for the most part.
Yeah.
We find off market opportunities, whether that's via direct to seller marketing, or whether that's via what I call like connectors, so wholesalers, real estate agents, property management companies, senior living facilities. I've got a list of 40 different ways that we find leads from connectors, but we're finding off market properties, and then we are either flipping those properties or we are keeping them as a rental property, and it goes into our rental portfolio. And so right now, I mean, 2025 was just a slower year for us.
Yeah.
We did 69 flips, but historically we've done over 100 a year. And I mean, we haven't been doing it for super long, but for the last 5 years, we've been kind of in that
Right.
100 range. And then we own a portfolio of about $20 million worth of single family rentals. My wife and I own, and we've gotten there through the Burr method.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you pick those rentals? Are you running it through the funnel of your business, finding those best deals that it's already finding out there?
Yep, exactly. So like our home buying company, we have four home buying specialists that their entire job is to find deals for us. And so if they bring in a deal, we're either going to flip that or we're going to keep it as a rental property. And on the rental side of things, our portfolio is like Class A, Class B rentals. Typically, our price point is usually like the ARV on those is around 250 to
Gotcha.
$300,000. And we'll pick them up. Like we closed on one today, that we're buying at 155. I think we'll probably put 70 into it. It should be worth 290 when we're done, and
Gotcha.
we'll keep that one as a rental. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Well, let's take a step back. What you said you got into real estate in 2019. What led you to the real estate life?
Yeah. So this is going to be a long story, but I think it's I think it could be beneficial to anybody that's listening to this. And so
Oh,
um yeah, so I'll back all the way up to 2017. It was
okay.
2017. So um I was a pastor before I got into real estate. And I loved the job that I had. It was, worked at a phenomenal church, phenomenal people, phenomenal community. It was in Denver, Colorado, and, absolutely loved what I did, but I didn't make very much money. But that was okay because I loved what I did. Um, and my wife got pregnant with our first in 2017. We have 5 kids now, but she got pregnant with our first in 2017, and we went on our baby moon to Hawaii, actually. And so we maxed out credit cards because again we didn't have money, and we spent our baby moon in Hawaii. And I remember on the very last night we were sitting at dinner, and we were actually in Kauai, and we were overlooking the ocean, and my wife and I were just talking about, she was pregnant, and we were talking about how cool it would be to raise a family in Hawaii someday because we fell in love with the place.
Mm.
And we pulled up Zillow on our phones, and we looked at the price of houses, and honestly we laughed because we were like it just it didn't seem realistic at that time.
Yeah.
I was making $42,000 a year, and I was
Right.
like, yeah, the starting point for a house was $2 million. It was like there's just no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why?
And so we kind of laughed, and that was that. And so then we, got back to Denver, uh, had our first daughter. Her name was Riley. Her name is Riley. And she's amazing. But about 9 months in, to her life, we might have been 8 months. I don't remember the exact dates, but we gave her peanut butter for the first time. So this would have been the fall of 2018. And yeah, she's allergic to peanut butter. We didn't know that. And she
Wow.
went into anaphylactic shock, and she like swelled up to twice her size, stopped breathing. And so we rushed her to an emergency room. And she ended up being fine. They got her EpiPens, hooked her up to some IVs. She stayed the night. She ended up being completely fine. But the reason I'm telling this story is because a couple weeks later, we got hit with a hospital bill for $15,000. We took her somewhere out of network. And at the time, like we're just trying to save our baby. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
not on my insurance card looking up what's in network, what's out of network. And so we took her to an out of network, it was one of those like 24-hour urgent cares and not technically hospital. And so it was
Yeah.
out of network, got hit with a $15,000 hospital bill. And I remember that night, I'm sitting there with the bill in my hand. My wife and Riley are sleeping, and I'm devastated because I'm thinking like this is not the life that I want to live. This is not the life that I want for my wife. This is not the life that I want for my one kid at the time and my future kids. Where um, I we're struggling to pay the bills. I'm going through in Colorado, it was either King Supers or Safeway, and I'm checking my bank account to see if I have money. I was driving a car that my wires were popping out of the tires because I couldn't I couldn't afford new tires. And I just remember feeling so inadequate as a father and a provider and a husband.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And that was late 2018. And that was actually that night. I remember it so specifically. That was the night. I didn't choose real estate, but that was the night that I was like, I'm going to figure something out to make more money. And so the next day, man, I got on Google and I just started typing in how to make more money. Um, and there was a podcast that I came across, and there was a guy on the podcast talking about real estate, and he made the comment that almost every self-made millionaire, some crazy percentage, does it through real estate. And I was like, I want to be a millionaire. And so then got into Google, and I Googled just real estate podcasts, and then Bigger Pockets popped up. And so this was late 2018, early 2019. And so I started listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast. And crazy enough, there was a guy on that podcast. His name is Brandon Turner. I'm sure you have heard of him, probably, Micah. Yeah. So, and he was talking about how he was living in Hawaii and he had done it using real estate and building real estate. And I was like, this is awesome. And so I started listening to every podcast that they put out. And then in 2019, the summer of 2019, my wife and I sat down and we were like, hey, we're gonna get into real estate. That we're gonna do it. And so we packed up our bags. And we moved from Denver to St. Louis, and we moved into my wife's parents' house. And we were going to give real estate investing a try. And one of the things I think is really important for anybody that's listening to this is we loved our life in Denver. I think that's that's really important for people to realize. Like we were broke. We were completely broke, but we had the most phenomenal friends. I loved my job. I loved the church, the community. We absolutely loved our life in Denver. And we had to take a huge sacrifice by moving into my wife's parents' basement with a year-old child at the time. And we just had to make this sacrifice, but it was because we knew that we wanted something more with our lives. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to make that sacrifice. And so for anybody who's listening, like you have to make a sacrifice to get to where you want to go.
Right.
And so we did that. And so we moved to St. Louis, and we did our first flip. Actually, right when we got to St. Louis, about a week after we had our second baby. And in the hospital room, I put our first flip under contract that we were going to do. And so, yeah, and it was awesome. I mean, that house sucked. I did everything wrong. And part of it was, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was still so new to listening to podcasts. I had read, at that time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a couple books, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I was so antsy of like, I said I was going to do this. We committed to this. So I put a house under contract from a wholesaler, and figured out the funding via a hard money lender on it. And we got into the house, and I think I had budgeted like $40K for the rehab, not knowing, I've never rehabbed a house and I have no idea. The first contractor that we had come there, he was like, yeah, this is about $115,000 rehab. And so, and I was like, this is it. We're one and done, bankrupt. And so, we actually, my wife and I and our year-old and literally 3-week-old baby and dog, we got an air mattress and we blew it up in the living room of that house. And my wife and I, we flipped that house together. We did all of the work. We painted, we did, refinished the cabinets, and we have never done construction before, but we figured it out. Um, and I've actually got this really fun video of the very first night we're sitting on the air mattress, and Lexi and I, we ordered tacos, I think, and I looked at Riley, she's a year old, and I was like, yeah, uh this is how I say this is how we're gonna afford to move to Hawaii one day.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and my wife looks at me and is like, and I said, okay, not this house, but we're gonna do a lot of these. This is the first house of many. And so I literally have that video. It's on my Instagram somewhere of me saying that.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And so we get done with that house. We did not make money on it. We actually ended up breaking even. If you had paid us for the man hours that we put in, we would have lost a significant amount of money. But we got done with that, and we loved it. We were like, I think it was because it was us, and like we were chasing our dreams. And so even though
Right.
it was not a great experience financially, it was a great experience in the fact that like we committed to something and we proved to ourselves like we're honest. Like when we tell ourselves we're going to do something, we're going to do it. And we committed to that and we took action and we did it. And so we got done with that first one. And even though financially it didn't move the needle at all, we were like, we can't wait for the next one. And so we
Boom.
bought our second house in January of 2020. And that one went better than I could have ever imagined. It was actually that was our first rental property. We still own it to this day, but we bought it for 65. I think we put like 35 into it, so we were all in for 100, but we got it appraised at like 175, and the bank gave us an 80% LTV. So we they gave us like a loan for 120 on it. So we took the 100 and whatever, like 105, and paid back our private money lender. And so we put $15,000 tax free in the bank, and we had a rental property with a bunch of equity, and it was cash flowing. And I was like, this is amazing. So it went better than I could have imagined. And then we just started buying literally everything that we came across that made sense. Um, and in 2020, we scaled and did close to 100 deals that year. Same thing in 2021. Same thing in 2022. But I want to tell a quick story because as we were scaling, and this is where the story gets really fun. And sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, Micah.
Well, hold on, one before you
eh,
go there, hold that
yes,
thought. There's one thing I wanna point out that I keep hearing over and over again, and I want listeners and viewers to really take note. One, the pressure it takes to actually make you make a change, and it will always have a sacrifice involved. That is 100% true, and then to keep taking the actions even when you're scared, even
yeah,
when you're not sure, that ability to hold yourself accountable to yourself. And you even you and your wife doing it for each other, you told each other, "We're gonna do this." That's what it takes. It's truly what it takes. Because if you're serious, it's not about the first one being a home run. It's about doing this for a long time and actually pulling off the life you say that you want by learning, like you said earlier, the vehicle that's made more millionaires than any other industry in America. It is hands down tilted in real estate's direction simply because of access. The way that anybody can find their way into this game and find a way in it to create the life that they want as long as you keep taking that action. And so it wasn't by accident. So one thing, man, amazing job.
Yeah.
That's that part that it takes that you hear from the folks that make it is, I just kept going. I
Yeah.
just kept going and I just kept going. And everybody people think, well, you just didn't have any fear, you didn't have any of that. And it's like, that's not true. That you felt it every step of the way and you kept
Yes.
having to choose it over and over and over again. And it reminds me of a quote by Virginia Satir that says, most people prefer the certainty of misery than the misery of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And the folks that can embrace that second one, that they, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. If you can get to that space, it unlocks life itself. So I
Well,
want to point that out in that part of the story.
and I think a part of it too is getting really clear on your goals and where you're going. So like my wife and I, that is something that we have done and continue to do is like we know where as a family we are headed. And so when things happen and life gets tough and it gets stressful, like there's this north star of like, hey, we're doing this for our family and for this outside reason. And so it makes it a lot easier to continue to move forward. um and one of the cool things that I forgot to say, but I've got a journal entry from January 1st, 2020. Actually, and then I wrote it. I don't do it anymore, but I wrote it every day for probably 3 years. I got Grant Cardone's 10X plan. I don't know if you ever did that or saw that, but in it, it has
So
you write your goals every morning and every night. And I had 3 goals that year, and I think I had them actually as 5 year goals, but it was to live in Hawaii, it was to have $1 million net worth, and it was to be 10% body fat. And so I didn't hit one of them, and I'll tell you which one in a little bit, but there was one I didn't hit. But uh, so I wrote that night and day. Every single morning, I'd wake up and I'd write those down, and every single night I would write those down. And so we're very clear about like where I wanted to go with our lives. Um, and we started to scale our real estate business, and I think because I was writing those things down, I'm looking for opportunity that can make those a reality. So like I'm putting myself in rooms with people that will help me become a millionaire. I'm putting myself in rooms with people that could allow me to live in Maui. And I say that to say, in 2021, I saw on Instagram, I think, Brandon Turner, the guy that I was listening to on Bigger Pockets, he was hosting a mastermind in in Maui, and so my wife and I were like, let's go to it. And so we go to this mastermind in Maui in 2021. Um, and we loved it, learned a lot. But there was an exercise on the first day of the mastermind that and this is absolutely crazy. First day we go through like a visualization exercise. There's a guy named Rich Fecky who took us through this, where it's basically like close your eyes and pretend you're on like a light stream up into outer space, and another light comes down and intersects with your path, and you go down on that and you land 5 years in the future. um and he's just like, look around, like, and he wanted us to be very, very um uh create not creative, but wanted us to take in all of the details of what we saw. And
Mhm.
he's like, you're 5 years in the future, you're standing in front of your future house in 5 years, and like you walk up the driveway, look around and see the house, and like walk up to the front door and you knock on it, and future you answers it in 5 years. And like start talking to this person, and how's their relationship with their wife, their kids, their business. Um, and basically then just like had you go and journal that. And uh and so the day before, the night before we did this exercise, Brandon had this big party at his house for everybody that was at the mastermind. And it was in Maui. It overlooked the ocean. It was a beautiful house. And so like, and I've always wanted to live in Maui. And so that's what I visualized. Like I visualized landing in front of that house. And at that time, I mean, it's a multi-million dollar house. I was making good money, but like didn't make sense. Um, and but I was in that house and like visualized that house and walking up on the, past the pool onto the lanai, knocking on the door, seeing myself. Um, and so I started doing that every morning, after that event where I would go, I'd tell people I go and have coffee with myself 5 years in the future every single morning. Um,
Mm,
and that to me has been the most life-changing thing that I have ever done. And I still do it because when you think of the future version of you, it's not somebody that's poor, that has a terrible relationship with their kids, that has a
right,
terrible relationship with their spouse, that isn't running a great business. Like you're envisioning the best parts. But what that does is that realigns my day-to-day actions to line up
right,
with who is that future version of me. And so like every single morning I sit down and I talk with the 5-year version of myself and how much he loves his wife. Guess what I'm going to do that day? I'm going to take consistent action in that direction because I
right.
know that's like the future me has a great relationship with his kids. Guess what I'm going to do that day? I'm going to be present with my kids because I know that the future me has a phenomenal relationship with his kids, has a healthy business, has a healthy marriage, is in a financially stable position. So I'm making it like realigns my day to day actions to be aligned with that person in 5 years. And so I still do that, but I started doing that in 2021. And I'd go to the same house every single morning, at Brandon's house at the time. And I didn't know Brandon from Adam. Like I just met him at this mastermind, didn't know him at all. And I would have coffee with myself. Um, and so go back to St. Louis, we continue growing our real estate business. Um, and we start making a good amount of money. And towards the end of 2022, we were like, hey, we've got enough money, we've got the system set up in our business.
Mhm.
Let's move to Maui. Um, and so we moved to Maui, and at the end of 2022, and we rented a house here, um, and didn't know like Brandon that well when we moved here. But one of the cool things is did get to know him once we were here. And he had left Bigger Pockets at the time. And so then he asked me, after being here for about a year, he asked me to be the co-host on his new podcast. It's called a Better Life podcast. I think it's one of the most listened to real estate podcasts in the world that he asked me to be the co-host of. And so
That's
I'm now the
awesome.
co-host of that podcast that literally I was listening to him is what got me into real estate. Um, and then fast forward another year, uh, Brandon bought a new house, was like, hey, I'm selling my house. And so I ended up buying his house, the one that since 2021, I had been visualizing myself having coffee on every single morning, 4 years. And I didn't know Brandon, didn't know like there,
Yeah.
and I literally bought that house and I had coffee on the lanai overlooking the ocean this morning. This thing that I visualized for 5 years came to fruition. Like, and so I know that was a long time. I've talked for a lot of the
No,
time, but
great stuff.
I tell that story to say, like, when you know where you are going, and you set those goals for your life. Like I knew, like deep down, I knew I'm going to live in Maui. I'm going to own this house. I'm going to make this much money. I'm going to have this type of relationship with my wife. I'm going to have this type of relationship with my kids. And then I revisited that every single day. Like you can't not be successful.
Right.
There's no way that you can't not be successful. And there, believe me, it was not a linear growth
Yeah,
to where
never
we're
is.
at. It was this, but it was up here, I still know where I'm going. Down here, I still know where I'm going. And so it was not linear. There was not ups and downs. There were not times where I felt like I was going to pull my hair out. There were not times where my wife and I got into fights about finances or growing the business or working too much. Like all of that happened. But we were aligned in where we were headed as a family. We were aligned in where we were heading as a business. And we consistently pursued that day in and day out, no matter how high the highs were, no matter how low the lows were. We consistently pursued that. And that is what has allowed us to get where we are today. And so, yeah, fun story. Again, I know I talked a lot, but fun story that I want to
No,
share.
I appreciate it, man, because I think it's valuable information from a side most folks don't see in the business. You hear a lot of strategy, you hear a lot of how to, but the reality is you are living each day of it out. There's a reality to it where you get to look up now and say, I've almost flipped 500 houses. but there
Yeah.
was a day where you had not flipped a house, where you were actually that time, that video of you talking to your daughter, that's real. That's real life. Like you were really there. And now you have this 5-year gap to what's truly possible. And that's
Yeah.
where I want folks to know it's not about getting there fast. It's about getting there. And that
Mhm.
5-year viewpoint on life is far enough into the future to give you time to get there, but close enough to get clarity around it, where you
Yeah.
can see a little bit clearer what you want. See, I struggle with the 10-year version personally because it's man, life changes so much decade to decade. Like you're getting older. I work with a coach who he's really specific on he's in his 70s now. And he'll talk about what he's noticed through each decade. So I'm like, okay, a decade is a little long for me to project knowing how much change I'm going to go through. But that 5-year gap, that's a powerful gap that you can live
Mhm.
with. The idea of having coffee with yourself, I know what I'm doing tomorrow morning, so I
Dude.
love that. I'm a very big journaler myself. I'm fixing to cross 4 years of every day in a row, but I
Wow.
have about 8 years total I can go back to now, where I just journal about life and what I've walked through and knowing, like, reflecting now in my own life and the story that you showed how it is exactly how it works, this dedicated effort over time. What my journal shows me, because I like to read it each morning too after I write in it, most days of life are boring.
Mhm.
Most of them. You'll never remember them. That's what my journal shows me. I never would have remembered any of this without writing it down, but it's easy to remember the lows and it's super easy to remember the highs, but that in the middle where the majority of your life is taking place, that's the day in, day out kind of stuff where those decisions matter. Am I going to get up and do it today? Not when it's easy, not when it's super hard, when it's meh, when it's
Yeah.
just getting up and doing it. It's that in between, man, that the part of flipping a house where like it's all gets to a certain point really good, and then the next section just takes
Yeah.
forever. Where you're just like, what is going
10%.
on? Why?
Yeah.
It's that feeling, but
Uh,
knowing, okay, deep down, just keep moving, just keep moving. One of the ways I like to remember too, I grew up farming and
okay.
I can get impatient. But I remember I always remind myself, if you ever plant a seed and get upset it's not growing the next day, you can wind and mow 'em for about 90 days and it'll
Yeah.
grow. So you can either enjoy the 90 days of it doing it and it has zero to do with how you feel about it, or you can be upset for all 90 days and still get there. So what are you gonna do? It's
Well,
just okay, this is what we got to do today. Today we plant, today we pull the weeds. Eventually we get to reap that harvest at the end because of just methodical work towards a very intentional goal. So, man,
I
again,
love
thank you so much for sharing that story.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that you said that I think are really, really important for people to hear. Um, and the first thing that I would say, just talking about journaling, I think that's so important for anybody that's an entrepreneur, or even if you're not an entrepreneur and you just like, because I think you see your growth, even if you don't, you see your growth in a long period of time,
Mm,
even though, like you were saying, every days are boring sometimes, where it's like,
right,
you might, if you look at a 6-month window, you might not see growth, or you might even see like a negative, like when I'm talking about the linear type of growth. Like there's definitely been times where our net worth has decreased quite a bit over a 6-month period. But if you look at it over a 5-year period, it's like, oh my goodness, like this is
right,
amazing. Um, Same thing where this just happened not that long ago. I was looking back at journaling from 2017, right around when we had uh, Riley, our daughter. And I wrote, at the time, I thought that I was writing about something else where it was like I was writing out a prayer. And I, at the time, was like, I wanted to be a lead pastor and I was a youth pastor. Um, and I want a platform and I want to like make big decisions. And I listed out all like these 10 different things that I wanted. And part of it might have actually probably was ego. Like I wanted this platform and this stage and people to look at me and to be in charge of things and make big decisions. And at the time I wasn't doing that. I was a youth pastor, so I didn't have a lot of
right,
I guess leadership within the church. Um and I I remember a couple months ago looking at that and going through the list, and I had like God answered every single one of those prayers. He
right.
didn't answer it the way that I thought that he would, is like I was going to be a lead pastor, but he gave me a platform of being the co-host of one of the biggest or the biggest podcasts in the real estate sector in the world, and having people reach out to me about real estate investing advice, and having a team of uh, 15 employees and another 70 or 80 1099 guys. And like, he answered every single one of those prayers, just not the way that I thought that he would. And so I think that's really important, because you can see like your growth if you journal.
Right.
Um, Really, really important to remember if you're listening to this. Like it has done so much for me personally.
And it shows you, like, it shows you what those visions actually look like, right? You're talking about having that vision to lead you on. And it's hard to imagine what it's going to be like in reality, because it's always has a little bit slighter different version than you thought it would be when you were planning it out. But you start to see, okay, wait a second, man, it all did happen. I
Yeah,
didn't think that's how it was going to happen. And I just recently turned 40, and that's something I'm just in that transition through the decades. And that one was like, you can let go a lot of angst about it,
yeah,
where it will happen. Like there's some deep down foundations that will, like, you have your platform, you have the leadership, you had the things you wanted that just didn't look like you ever thought they would look. And that's the part you're open to. That's the little secret sauce of life right there, where don't get so attached to what you think it's supposed to look like that you miss what it's really supposed to
mhm,
be. Pay attention to those. That's when your instincts are so valuable to yourself. You know that still small voice you hear about in the religious world of, what is it really saying deep down? What is it that you're
yeah,
hearing when you're sitting there alone with yourself? Pay attention. It's telling you things, and then you're going to go live that life out and be open to what it looks like, because the doors will be open. Right? Always,
yeah,
I think about, that Garth Brooks song, one of God's greatest gifts is unanswered prayers. And I think
yeah,
about
yeah.
that now in life, right? It's so true that it's they're answered and unanswered all at the same time. And it's
Mhm.
always leading you to that place that you're trying to get to. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate that, man. Thanks for sharing
Well,
that story today.
yeah, and another, sorry, I know I'm taking up too much time, but
You're
another
good,
thing,
man.
like, that it when for me, and my wife Lexi, one of our biggest things was the values that visualization and having these goals provided. Because for us, it did work out pretty much exactly like we had wanted. But even if it hadn't, it was more about the values, where it's like, hey, when I would go and have coffee with myself and I would talk about how much I love my wife, um, the values there, like same with my kids. Like I would talk about how like I love my kids, I'm present in their lives, they love me. So like let's peel the layers back on that. What does that mean? Well, it means that I have to be a present father. It means that I have to be a
Mm,
loving father. It means that I have to be a forgiving father. That means that I have to um, uh, spend time. I have to, whatever it may be. Like those values were things that I implemented into my life. Same with, hey, I wanted to have a healthy business. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that I have to be a leader. It means that I have to be a visionary. It means that I have to hire A players. It means that I have to be present for them. It means like all of the like I got to cast vision for our team. Same with my wife. Like I want to be a phenomenal husband. So what do I have to do? I have to spend time. And so it was all these values where I kind of uh, I would go revisit it every single day, but then day to day, I'm not thinking through like, oh, I've got to live in this house in Maui. It's more of what values do I have to do every single day that can lead me towards that. And so that
there you
is, I've got to love my wife. I've got to be present with her. I've got to forgive. I've got to honor her, to help around the house. Like those, so it implemented values over time that led us to where we were, but it was more about the values of that person in 5 years. And that's what
Yep.
I lived at. It aligned my day, still does. It aligns my day to project that.
Right.
So yeah.
You're It forces you to become the person. You gotta do the things that make you be that person. One
Mhm.
of my mentors calls it role-based living. He's like, whatever you're gonna do, if you when you're dad, be dad, full on. You can't be multiple roles. When you're husband, be husband. When you're business owner, be business owner. When you're friend, be friend. Son, be son. Be very intentional about that role you're being. And that's you now have nailed that secret sauce of how visualization really works.
Yeah.
Is it's not a magic spell that you just imagine the things. It's this person you imagine becoming, and then looking at what activities do I need to do today that allow me to become that person. Because you
Hmm.
don't need to live in Maui to be a good husband. You don't need to live there to be a good dad. You don't need to live there to be a good business owner. It's the that's the byproduct of this other thing. And
Yes.
that is how it works, where yes, that's where you get really intentional in the vision of it, that thing that you want. And when you can see a house, you kind of got lucky where you could see the house. Like
Yeah.
you got to hang out in the thing you wanted, man. Now you're tapping into like the real deep of like everything aligning around, okay, if that's what you want and you're willing to do the things to become who that person is, then this is at the end of that road. That's what it'll naturally lead to. And that's where visualization and action merge together, is not
Yeah.
losing that side of where you want to go while at the same time understanding, what do I got to do today? Because
Yeah.
that's what we have in front of us. I call them activities of daily living. What are your ADLs today? What do you got to get that done? And when you're done, you're done. And
Yeah.
some days it's not as much as other days, and it relieves the pressure. You don't get stuck in do, 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 do. It lets you actually be present as a husband, be present as a father, be present as a business owner. Like it releases you from the inside out. So it's
Mhm.
you nailed it, man. And
Yeah.
I get hyped about this stuff, as you can tell. I
Yeah.
just get jazzed. I like seeing people pull it off, to show folks you can pull it off. And
Mhm.
it's not a mystery as to how to do it.
Mm-mm.
People have been doing it for a long time. It lines up with where you're trying to go first. And money's a great reason to do a lot of things. However, for lasting power, typically won't lead you to the thing you want to do for a long time. That pays that emotional paycheck and the financial paycheck enough. And you came out of it from the other, because it can't just pay your emotional paycheck.
Yeah.
You had that, right? But without that opposite side, you start, especially as a man, you start to feel not useful. You start to
Yeah.
feel inadequate. And that, you want to destroy a man's soul, take that away from him.
Yeah.
Take that away from him, and you will watch a person either crumble or rise to the occasion, because that's like life calling you out right there. It's a hard moment, but one of the most special ones you'll look at, when it's like, yep, that was the day life called forth and said, hey, there's a big plan for you if you want one.
Yeah.
Here's what the road's going to look like, but it's out there. So again, man, thank you so much. For those that are listening, thanks for hanging with us for this long and staying in. I hope you got value out of today's episode. Cam, if they want to find out more about you, follow along with what you have going on, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, I would say on Instagram, I'm not on there a ton, but it's cam.cathcart. That's my Instagram, CAM period CATHCART. And that's gonna be probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Excellent. And say that podcast name again that you're on, that you co-host.
It's called A Better Life Podcast. A
Better
Better
Life
Life. Yeah.
Podcast.
Uh-huh.
Excellent. All right. If you're listening, check the show notes. We'll have Cam's link there. Follow along. Check out a story of someone that's really building the life that they set out to build, creating the family that they want, and truly, not the cliche version, living the dream, man. Again, congratulations. I love it when I'm seeing people do it. So if you got value out of today's episode, everybody, please like this episode, share it with someone that you think would get value out of it as well. As always, don't forget to subscribe. We appreciate every single one of you that follows along with us. Thanks for being here. We'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.